Have you ever paused in a quiet moment and wondered, is God really with me? It's a question that often whispers to our hearts, especially during life's hardest challenges. We long for assurance, a sign, a feeling, something unmistakable to remind us that we are not walking this journey alone. But what if I told you that the answer to this question doesn't always come in the way we expect? That sometimes, in our search for evidence of God's presence, we overlook the ways He is already moving in our lives. Today, we're going to explore this profound question together. Along the way, you'll discover not only how to recognize God's presence, but also the key to unlocking an inner strength that can carry you through any storm. Let's begin. To answer the question, is God with me? We first need to understand how God's presence reveals itself. It may not always come as a booming voice or a dramatic miracle. Instead, it's often found in the subtle, everyday moments that we sometimes take for granted. Think about the warmth of sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky, the comforting words of a friend, or the unexpected peace you feel during a difficult time. These moments aren't just coincidences. They're whispers of God's nearness. Sometimes, God's presence is felt most strongly in our quiet moments, when we're still enough to sense it. Psalm 46 verse 10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." In the stillness, when we set aside our distractions, we create space for God to speak to our hearts. And even in times of doubt or silence, remember this: God's presence is not dependent on our feelings. He is with us, whether we sense Him or not. His promise in Scripture is clear: "I will never leave you nor forsake you." Trusting that promise is the first step to recognizing Him in your life. Once we begin to recognize that God is with us, the question becomes, how does this awareness strengthen us? The answer lies in trust. Trust that His presence is enough, no matter what we face. Inner strength doesn't mean never feeling weak or afraid. It's about knowing that even in our weakness, we are supported by a strength greater than our own. In 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, God says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." When we lean on God, we tap into that perfect power. So how do we build this trust and, in turn, strengthen ourselves? Start by making time to connect with Him daily. It can be through prayer, meditating on Scripture, or even taking a walk and reflecting on His goodness. These small acts of faith deepen our relationship with Him, reminding us that we are never alone. Another key is surrender, not the kind of surrender that gives up, but the kind that lets go of control. When we release our burdens into God's hands, we free ourselves from the weight of trying to handle everything alone. This act of faith creates space for His strength to work in us and through us. The secret to inner strength lies in this beautiful partnership, our trust combined with His unshakable presence. Together, they form a foundation that can withstand anything. Faith isn't just a feeling. It's a force that moves us to action. When we believe that God is with us, it transforms how we approach life's challenges. Suddenly, obstacles become opportunities to trust Him more deeply. Think of it like crossing a bridge. Faith is what compels you to take that first step, even when you can't see the entire path ahead. And as you move forward, each step becomes steadier, because you're not walking alone. God is carrying you. But faith doesn't stop at belief. It's brought to life through action. When we step out in faith, whether it's offering forgiveness, taking a risk for something we believe in, or simply choosing hope over despair, we allow God's strength to work in us. Remember the story of David and Goliath? David's faith in God gave him the courage to face a giant, but he didn't just stand still and wait for victory to come to him. He stepped forward, slung his stone, and trusted God to guide it. That's the balance, faith and action working together. When you pair faith with bold action, you become a vessel for God's power. It's in those moments that inner strength becomes outward transformation, and you realize just how deeply God's presence can shape your life. So, is God with you? The answer is a resounding yes. Whether in the stillness of a quiet moment, the strength that carries you through a storm, or the courage to take a step forward, God's presence surrounds you. But knowing this is only the beginning. The secret to inner strength is living in that knowledge every day. trusting that His promise to never leave you is unshakable. When you recognize His presence, build your trust, and let your faith lead to action, you'll discover a resilience that can weather any trial. So, the next time doubt whispers in your heart, ask yourself, where can I see God's hand in my life right now? Start there, and let that recognition fill you with strength and peace. You are not alone. You never have been. And with God by your side, you can face whatever lies ahead with unshakable confidence. The question isn't whether He's with you. The question is, will you choose to walk with Him today?